I found out my son changed my contact in his phone to Do Not Answer. I'm 89 years old and it killed me inside. My name is Martha. I am 89 years old. I'm going to tell you how I raised 3 beautiful children alone. And today, I pretend to be losing my mind just so a doctor will visit me once a week. If you have parents, please, listen to the end. It might save your family from a pain you can't imagine. The silence here in this apartment I once filled with laughter and the smell of fresh-baked bread. It's a living thing. It whispers. It screams. It reminds me that I am utterly alone. They think I'm confused, that my memory is failing. They pity the poor old woman who forgets her own name sometimes. But my mind, my Martha's mind, is sharper than they know. Every foggy answer, every blank stare, it's a performance. A desperate act to get a little bit of human connection. A pair of eyes that meet mine for more than 5 seconds. It's a tragic game, isn't it? To trade your sanity for a fleeting moment of company. I used to hate going to the doctor. Now, it's the highlight of my week. Because for an hour, I'm not just the forgotten old woman. I'm a patient. I'm important. Someone is listening, even if it's just about my blood pressure. I still save his favorite cookies, the ones my dear John loved as a boy, just in case he ever decided to drop by. He won't. I know he won't. But a mother hopes, doesn't she? Even when her heart is shriveled and dry. It's a desperate measure, this pretense, this faking of my own mind's decay, just to feel a touch, a voice. But to understand how I got here, I need to go back to the days when we were happy. It's been 1,097 days since my son John last answered my phone. 1,247 days. I stopped counting the calls I made. But I remember when he used to call me my queen. The smell of cake in the kitchen, the laughter around the full Christmas table, and the feeling of his small hand gripping mine. I remember the pride, the joy, the absolute certainty that we were an unbreakable family. If you knew what I discover at the end of this story, maybe there would still be time for you not to make the same mistake my children did. The silence now is a shroud, heavy and cold. But once, this apartment, these very walls, vibrated with life. My John, my eldest, he was a force of nature. From the moment he could walk, he was exploring, asking questions, always wanting to build something. I remember his 5th birthday. He wanted a fire truck, a big red one with a real siren. Money was tight back then. Raising 3 children alone after my husband, God rest his soul, passed too soon. But I saved every penny from my seamstress work. I remember seeing his eyes light up when he unwrapped it. That joyous shriek. He hugged me so tight. "You're the best mommy in the whole wide world," he whispered, his little voice full of genuine love. My heart felt like it would burst. Those were the days when my world was warm, filled with purpose. Every sacrifice felt like a privilege. He wasn't just a boy. He was my rock even then. When his sister Sarah, my quiet artistic one, broke her arm falling off the swing set, it was John who helped me carry her home, comforting her with stories about brave knights. He was always looking out for his siblings. And David, my youngest, my little David, who always had a mischievous glint in his eye, he worshipped John. They'd spend hours in the backyard, building forts out of old blankets and chairs, their imaginary battles filling the air with shouts and laughter. I'd watch them from the kitchen window, flour on my apron, a smile on my face that reached my eyes. I taught John everything about fixing things, about working with his hands. He loved it, always tinkering with old radios, trying to make them work. "I'll be an engineer, Mama," he'd declare, his chest puffed out with ambition. I was so proud. Wait, I haven't told you the part that makes me cry every night yet. I remember the day John graduated high school. He was the first in our family to go to college. I worked extra shifts, sewing until my fingers ached, just to make sure he had everything he needed. I remember standing there in the audience, tears blurring my vision as his name was called. He looked at me, gave me a small nod, a silent acknowledgement of all the struggles we'd overcome together. Later, he told me he wouldn't have done it without me, that I was his inspiration. "You taught me to never give up, Mama," he said. My heart swelled with a love so pure, so deep. It still aches to think of it now. That boy, my John, he was my world. Sarah, my sweet Sarah, she had a different kind of fire. She loved painting, drawing, bringing beauty into the world. I encouraged her, bought her what paints I could afford. Even though art supplies weren't cheap, she painted a portrait of me once, when I was in my 40s, before the lines of worry etched themselves permanently on my face. It's still hanging in my bedroom, a ghost of a younger me, a testament to a daughter who once saw me with such loving eyes. And David, my little scamp, he was full of energy, always making us laugh. He was a natural athlete, running faster, jumping higher than anyone else his age. I remember cheering him on at his football games, my voice hoarse from shouting his name. They were my everything. 3 children, each so different, each a piece of my soul. I gave them every ounce of my strength, every prayer, every dream I had. I wanted them to have a better life than I did, a life full of opportunity and happiness. I taught John the value of hard work, how to fix things, how to be dependable. I remember him asking me about finances, even as a teenager, wanting to understand how I managed to keep us afloat. I taught him, patiently, every trick I knew, hoping he would never face the same struggles. He listened intently, always. My heart breaks just thinking of those shared moments. I remember one Christmas Eve, the snow falling softly outside, muffling the world. We had just enough money for a small turkey, and I'd spent all day baking John's favorite lemon meringue pie. The tree was small, adorned with homemade ornaments, but the room was warm with our laughter. John was trying to teach Sarah a complicated board game, while David, bless his heart, was pretending to be a reindeer, prancing around the living room. It was simple, imperfect, but it was ours. It was full. And I remember feeling so utterly content watching them. They were my masterpiece, my reason for being. My hands, now gnarled and frail, once baked thousands of cookies, stitched countless seams, wiped away endless tears, and clapped with boundless pride. I remember John's first job, how he proudly brought home his first paycheck, insisting I keep most of it. "For everything you've done, Mama," he said, handing me the crisp bills. He was always so thoughtful, so grateful. What happened to that boy? What happened to that gratitude? These memories are a double-edged sword now. They bring such a vivid sense of joy that the present silence becomes even more deafening, more brutal. I miss the simple noise of a door opening, a voice calling my name, the rustle of life, the smell of burnt toast that signaled John was making breakfast. I miss being a mother who was needed, a mother who was loved. It didn't happen all at once. It was gradual, like a plant dying without water, little by little, until you barely notice the vibrant green turning to brittle brown. It started subtly, almost imperceptibly, after John got his big promotion. He was always busy, my John, always working hard, and I was so proud of him. But then, the calls became shorter. "Love you, Mom. Gotta run," he'd say, before I could even ask how his day was. Then they became less frequent. A day turned into two into a week. I'd call, and his voicemail would pick up strong and confident, but never him. I remember the first time I felt that sharp stab of fear, that chill in my bones. I'd woken up with a crushing pain in my chest, a real fright, thinking my heart was giving out. My first thought, of course, was John. I called him, trembling, my voice barely a whisper. He answered, but his tone was brisk, annoyed even. "Mom, can this wait? I'm in a crucial meeting right now. Call Sarah." A crucial meeting. My chest was aching, and I felt like my world was collapsing. But his meeting was more important. Sarah, bless her heart, was on a painting retreat overseas. David was already a distant memory, swallowed by his own struggles years ago. I hung up, a cold dread seeping into my very bones. The pain subsided eventually, but something inside me broke that day. It wasn't just an unreturned call. It was the realization that I wasn't his first thought anymore. I wasn't even an urgent thought. Then came the talk. It was a Tuesday, I remember, the sun streaming in through the living room window, highlighting the dust motes dancing in the air. mocking the emptiness. John and his wife, Karen, sat on my sofa, stiff and formal, like they were visiting a stranger. Sarah was there too, looking uncomfortable, her eyes darting between me and John. "Mom," John started, his voice firm. "We've been talking, and we think it's time for you to consider a retirement community." My world tilted. Retirement community. Nursing home. The words hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. But why?" I asked, my voice barely a squeak. My heart pounded against my ribs. "I'm perfectly fine here, my John. I can manage." Karen, always the practical one, chimed in. "Martha, dear, it's for your own good. You've been forgetting things, haven't you? Leaving the stove on, misplaced your keys again. We can't have you falling, or worse, having an emergency and no one knowing, forgetting things." Yes, I had sometimes. A natural part of getting older, wasn't it? But they spoke of it like a disease, a reason to lock me away. Sarah tried to interject. "She's not that bad, John. She just needs a bit more help." But John cut her off. "Sarah, be realistic. This isn't a prison, Mom. It's a community. Activities. People your own age." His voice was falsely cheerful, rehearsed. It wasn't about me anymore. It was about their convenience. My home, the one I had built with my own hands, the one where I had raised them, was now deemed unsafe for me. The day of the move was a blur of hurried boxes and hushed voices. They moved me out so quickly it felt like an eviction. John and Karen, with a couple of burly movers, whisked through my apartment, boxing up what they deemed essential. "Oh, this old thing?" Karen said, holding up the handmade quilt I'd spent months stitching for John's first bed, adorned with little embroidered animals. "We won't need that. Too bulky." And she tossed it into a pile for donation. My breath caught in my throat. That quilt, it held so many memories, so many hours of love. It was a piece of my soul, a tangible representation of my endless devotion to my John. I tried to protest, but my words seemed to float away, unheard. "And these old tools, Mom? Dad's workbench tools? John doesn't have space for these at his house," Karen added, gesturing to the box containing the very same wrenches and hammers that my husband had passed down, the ones John used to tinker with as a boy, wanting to be just like his father. They were relics, symbols of a bond between father and son, and between me and John as I taught him. But to them, they were just junk, clutter. They didn't see the years of shared dreams, the laughter, the lessons. They just saw weight, bulk, inconvenience. My entire life, my memories, my very identity, condensed into 3 impersonal boxes, leaving behind generations of sentiment. It felt like they were systematically erasing me, piece by piece, from my own history. I remember standing in the doorway of my empty living room, the late afternoon light painting long shadows across the stripped floors. The smell of dust and abandonment hung heavy in the air. This wasn't just an apartment. It was the canvas of my life. Every scratch on the wooden floor, every faded patch on the wallpaper, held a story. John's height marks on the doorframe, Sarah's crayon drawings on the back of a cupboard, David's worn-out baseball bat propped in the corner. Now, it was all gone, wiped clean. They said it was a fresh start for me. It felt more like an end. They drove me to the facility, a clean, sterile place with polite smiles and scheduled activities. They showed me my small room, a bed, a dresser, a single window looking out onto a paved courtyard. "It's cozy, isn't it, Mom?" John said, trying to sound enthusiastic. I just nodded, my throat tight with unshed tears. He said he'd come back next Sunday. "We'll hang Sarah's painting then, Mom," he promised, gesturing to the wrapped portrait of younger me that was leaning against the wall. "Make this place feel more like home." He kissed my forehead, a fleeting, almost perfunctory gesture, and then they were gone, just like that. The car drove away, taking with it the last threads of my old life, and a piece of my heart I knew I'd never get back. That Sunday came and went, and the next, the painting remained leaning against the wall, a silent witness to a broken promise. It wasn't the broken promise of a child anymore, but of a grown man who simply didn't care enough to fulfill even the smallest of commitments. But what I found out later, that's what truly broke my heart into pieces. You know what's worse than death? Being alive and forgotten. Every morning, the same bland porridge, the same sterile white walls. I wake up, the sunlight, if you can call it that, filtering through the single window. It casts long, lonely shadows across my small room. There's no John to wake, no Sarah asking for help with her hair, no David sneaking an extra cookie. Just the faint hum of the air conditioning and the rustle of nurses' uniforms in the hallway. I sit by the window watching the paved courtyard below. Sometimes, an ambulance pulls up. Its siren's a harsh reminder of fragility, of endings. Other times, I see staff walking to their cars, their lives bustling, full, while mine sits, stagnant, waiting for a bell to ring for lunch, then dinner, then sleep. The food here, it's functional. No taste, no love, just sustenance. I chew slowly, savoring the mere act of eating, because it's one of the few things I still have to do. The silence, my dear. It isn't empty. It's full of ghosts. Ghosts of laughter, of arguments, of children's footsteps echoing through a home that's no longer mine. It's a silence that screams, a silence that reminds me of everything I've lost. My hands, they used to be so busy. Always knitting, always baking, always cleaning. Now they just rest on my lap, trembling slightly, waiting for a purpose that never comes. The world outside moves on, vibrant and alive. But in here, time has stopped. It's a slow, agonizing pause. If you think what you've heard so far is sad, prepare yourself. One Tuesday, just a few weeks after I'd settled into this place, I was sitting in the common room, supposedly napping in an armchair. My eyes were closed, my breathing slow and even, a perfect performance of an old woman lost in slumber. But my ears, Martha's ears, they were wide open. I'd learned quickly that if you want to know what's really happening, you just have to appear a little confused, a little frail, and people forget you're even there. They talk over you, around you, as if you're a piece of furniture. And that day, I heard a voice, a familiar voice. My John, my John. He was on his phone pacing by the large bay window, his back to me. His voice was low, confident, the same voice I'd spent a lifetime listening to. My heart, shriveled as it was, gave a tiny flutter of hope. Was he calling someone to tell them he was visiting? No, I just left her actually, he said, his tone casual, almost breezy. Visited Mom this morning. She's doing well, you know, for her age. A bit confused still, but the staff here is excellent. She seems happy enough. Just had a lovely chat with her, actually. About the old days. My breath hitched in my throat. Just left her. This morning. He hadn't been here. Not in weeks. Not since the day he dropped me off. Not since he promised to hang Sarah's painting. He was lying. Lying to someone, probably a colleague. Maybe even Sarah, making himself sound like the dutiful son. The lovely chat? The old days? The only chats I'd had were with the kind nurse, Maria, about my blood pressure. He was painting a picture, a beautiful false picture of his devotion. My eyes remained closed, but a single hot tear traced a path down my cheek. He was so good at it, so convincing. The cruelest part wasn't just the lie, but the casual ease with which he delivered it. As if it were the absolute truth, as if my absence from his visits, my longing for his presence, meant nothing. He didn't just abandon me. He was rewriting our story, erasing my pain, presenting a version of himself to the world that was a complete fabrication. He was living a lie, and I, his mother, the one who taught him the value of honesty, was the silent, unwitting prop in his charade. I wanted to scream, to stand up and expose him, to ask him, John, my John, how can you look at yourself in the mirror? But I couldn't. I just lay there, pretending to be asleep, letting the words pierce me deeper than any knife. He finished his call, a satisfied sigh escaping his lips, and then he left, without a glance in my direction, without a whisper of goodbye. He simply walked away, leaving me to my quiet agony. His footsteps faded, and the silence returned, heavier, colder than before. The image of him, standing there so casually fabricating his affection, burned into my mind. It was then, my dear, that the real loneliness settled in, a cold, heavy blanket over my soul. It wasn't just the physical absence, the empty chair, the phone that didn't ring. It was the crushing realization that the John I had loved, the one who called me his queen, the one who swore he'd never forget me, was gone, replaced by this stranger who would lie about my existence to maintain a facade. And it was at that moment that I started to wonder, where did I go wrong? I spent months asking myself, where did I go wrong? Was it something I said? Something I didn't teach them? Did I love them too much? Too little? Every night I would replay conversations, actions, gestures, searching for the crack in the foundation, the moment when the unconditional love of a mother became a burden, a forgotten obligation. It was a torment, this self-interrogation, worse than any physical pain. My John, my boy who hugged me tight and called me his queen, could he truly be so heartless, or was it me? Was I Psy-Empli, too old, too frail, too much? The questions spun in my mind like a broken record, until a letter, a single envelope, changed the question to, what have they become? It arrived unexpectedly, tucked away in the pile of generic mail the facility staff brought to my room each morning. Mostly advertisements for stair lifts and medical alert systems. This one, however, was different. It bore a formal letterhead from a law firm I didn't recognize. My hands, despite their tremors, tore it open with a sudden, almost frantic energy. My eyes, usually blurry from age, focused sharply on the paragraphs of legalese. It was about my old apartment, the one where I had raised my children, the one they had so swiftly moved me out of. They had told me they were selling it to cover the costs of my care. A reasonable explanation, I thought at the time. A sacrifice, I understood. But the letter wasn't about a sale. It was a notice of default. Default. The word hammered in my head. It stated that the mortgage payments, which I hadn't even realized still existed after they moved me, were several months behind. It detailed penalties, late fees, and threatened foreclosure. My old apartment, the home they had deemed too unsafe for me, was being rented out. Rented out by John. The letter, cold and precise, laid it all bare. John had never sold the apartment. He had held on to it, put it in his name somehow, and had been collecting rent from tenants for the past 2 years, while I sat here believing my home was gone, its proceeds paying for my stay. And now, he wasn't even paying the mortgage. He had let it lapse, despite the substantial rental income he was pocketing. And because my name, Martha Sullivan, was still inexplicably tied to the original loan as a co-signer from decades ago, a decision I'd made to help him when he was starting out, a testament to my trust, I was now being held liable. The care they were providing me was costing them nothing. In fact, they were profiting from my old life, even as they allowed my home, to crumble under financial neglect. The air left my lungs in a silent gasp. It wasn't just the betrayal. It was the sheer audacity, the cold calculation, to move me out under the pretense of my failing health and needing to sell the place for my care, then to profit from it, and now to leave me, his own mother, liable for his financial negligence. My heart didn't break. It shattered into a million tiny sharp pieces. This wasn't the boy I had raised, the one who brought home his first paycheck, wanting me to keep most of it. This wasn't the man who looked me in the eye at his graduation and thanked me for teaching him everything. This was a stranger, a ghost wearing my son's face, meticulously dismantling my past, piece by piece, for his own gain. I gripped the letter so hard the paper crumpled in my trembling hands. Disappointment. It wasn't anger, not really. It was a profound, bone-deep disappointment. This wasn't what I wanted for them, for any of my children. I had taught John about honesty, about responsibility, about the dignity of hard work. I had shown him how to manage money, how to build, not destroy. And here he was, tearing down the very foundation I had laid, not just for himself, but for me. The pain was not for the money or the apartment itself, but for the moral decay, the twisted values that had taken root in my son's heart. He wasn't just abandoning me. He was abandoning everything I had ever stood for, everything I had poured into him. He was a thief, not of objects, but of integrity, of love, of the sacred bond between a mother and her child. And I, his mother, had helped him become this by trusting him implicitly. My generosity, my desire to see him succeed, had been weaponized against me. I looked around my small, sterile room. No homemade quilt, no old tools, no painting by my Sarah. Everything that had been meaningful to me, all tossed aside. And now, my very future, my modest savings, which I had carefully accumulated for my final years, were suddenly at risk. The letter mentioned legal action, liens against any assets I might still possess. It painted a bleak, terrifying picture. I had worked my whole life to be independent, to never be a burden, to leave something for my children. Now, they were not only neglecting me, but actively plundering what little I had left. The thought of confronting John, of hearing his carefully constructed lies, filled me with an exhaustion that went beyond my years. What good would it do? He wouldn't see my pain. He would see only inconvenience, a problem to be solved, another old woman to dismiss. What I'm about to reveal explains everything, and it will break your heart. I thought of my Sarah, my artistic one. She at least tried. But John's influence, his powerful grip on the family narrative, had always been strong. He had always been the golden child, the successful one. And David, my David, lost in his own struggles, probably had no idea the weight of this secret, of this profound betrayal, pressed down on me. It was heavier than any physical ailment, more crippling than any ache in my bones. It explained the curt calls, the hurried goodbyes, the absence. It wasn't just forgetfulness or busyness. It was a calculated distance, a conscious effort to keep me out of the loop, out of their lives, while still subtly benefiting from my past sacrifices. I reread the letter, my finger tracing the legal jargon, the cold, hard facts of John's deception. It was all there, undeniable. The dates, the amounts, the looming threat. For a moment, a fierce, protective instinct flared within me. I wanted to fight, to expose him, to reclaim what was mine. But then, I looked at my reflection in the dim window pane. A frail, withered woman, her face etched with a lifetime of struggle, and now, this new, unbearable sorrow. What battle could I fight? And for what? To salvage an apartment that held only ghosts now? To force a son to acknowledge a mother he no longer wanted? No. My John, the boy I raised, was truly gone. This man was a stranger, and confronting him would only give him another opportunity to lie, to dismiss, to cause more pain. My dignity, fragile as it was all I had left. So I folded the letter carefully. I didn't tear it up. I wouldn't let it become another forgotten piece of my past. Instead, I tucked it deep into my Bible, between the pages of Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. A cruel irony, perhaps, but it was there, hidden, a testament to his deceit, a stark reminder of what they had truly become. It was proof, for myself, that I wasn't imagining things, that my memory wasn't failing, that I wasn't just a confused old woman. This was real, and with this proof, I no longer questioned myself. I questioned them. I questioned what kind of hearts they possessed now. I spent the rest of the day in a quiet haze, watching the shadows lengthen in my tiny room. The letter, nestled within the worn pages of my Bible, felt like a burning coal against my chest. It didn't make me cry anymore. The tears had all dried up, replaced by a hollow ache, a profound sense of loss for something far more precious than money or property. The loss of the son I thought I knew. I had given them everything, my love, my life, my trust. And this was the devastating consequence. A life stripped bare, not just of physical comforts, but of emotional connection, replaced by cold calculation and deliberate deceit. With this truth in my hands, there's only one thing left for me to say before the end. And now, the message that could change the life of whoever is watching. If you're watching this, if you have elderly parents, or even just someone older you care about, Please listen closely to an old woman's final plea, because one day, my dear, you will be here. You will be in my place, staring at nothing, at these 4 sterile walls, waiting for a visit that never comes, for a phone to ring that remains stubbornly silent. You will know this crushing loneliness, and you will understand too late what truly matters. It's not grand gestures I crave. I don't need expensive gifts or lavish trips. What would make all the difference? What would fill this aching void in my heart? A simple 5-minute call, just to hear his voice. My John's voice, not hurried, not annoyed, just present. A photo of my grandchildren, little snippets of their lives. I see them on social media sometimes, through the kind nurse's phone, living their luxurious lives, vibrant and full. And I wonder if they even know my name, their grandmother's name. An unexpected, "I love you, Mom," from Sarah, from David, from John. Just 3 words. It would be like winning the lottery, like finding a lost treasure, like the sun finally breaking through these endless clouds. It costs nothing, absolutely nothing, but it would mean everything. It would mean I wasn't entirely forgotten, that some small part of me still mattered in their bustling worlds. My life has been long. I've seen prosperity and hardship. I've worked until my hands ached. I've saved every penny. I've sacrificed everything for my children. I thought money, providing for them, setting them up for a good life, was what a good mother did. And yes, it was important. But at 89 years old, lying awake in the dark, clutching a letter that reveals my own son's betrayal, I know now. It's not the money. It's not the possessions. It's the memories, the warmth of a hand, the sound of laughter, the comfort of knowing you are loved, truly and unconditionally. It's the feeling of being needed, even in the smallest way. The memory of John bringing me flowers for Mother's Day, picked from our own garden. The memory of Sarah curling up on the sofa next to me, reading. The memory of David's endless stories. Those are the riches I cling to now. Those are the treasures they have stolen by their absence, by their cold indifference. So please, if you have parents, if you have grandparents, don't leave it for later. Don't tell yourself, "I'll call tomorrow," or "I'll visit next week." Because later, my dear, later might be too late. The phone might ring and no one answers. The chair might be empty. The door might open, but the one you came to see is no longer there. Hug your parents. Tell them you love them. Today, not tomorrow. Today, before the silence becomes permanent, before the memories are all that's left, and even those start to fade under the weight of loneliness. The doctor, the kind one I pretend for, the one who visits me once a week, she's been trying to get in touch with my John. She thinks my heart, this old, tired heart, is giving out. It's not the fake dementia that's going to take me, my dear. It's the real one, the one that breaks when you're utterly alone. She told me last week, in hushed tones, that I might only have a few months left. A few months. Not enough time to fight a legal battle. Not enough time to reclaim an apartment. Not enough time to make John see the error of his ways. But maybe, just maybe, enough time for this story. Enough time for you to hear this and to change your path. The nurse, Maria, she helped me record this message, this secret confession about my fake dementia, about the apartment, about everything. She doesn't understand all the details, but she sees my pain. She sees the truth behind my performance. She told me to tell my story, to tell the world. I still have hope, you see, even after everything, even after the lies, the abandonment, the broken promises. I still have a flicker of hope that somewhere, deep down in my son John's heart, in Sarah's, in David's, there's a tiny ember of the love they once felt for their mother. I still have hope of seeing my son, my daughter, just one last time, of hearing their real voices, of feeling a genuine embrace, not a hurried peck on the cheek. Is that too much to ask? Is that too much to ask? Before I close my eyes forever? Before Martha Sullivan, the woman who raised 3 children, the woman who loved them more than life itself, finally fades into the silence she has fought so hard to escape. This This was my story, the story of Martha, an old woman who faked confusion, not for attention but for human connection. But I am not alone, my dear. Millions of us sit in quiet rooms, in sterile facilities, or in homes that once vibrated with life, forgotten and waiting. Our stories are different, perhaps, but our pain is the same. A longing for a touch, a word, a memory shared. If my words, if the raw, devastating truth of my loneliness and betrayal have touched your heart, please don't let it be in vain. Don't put off that call you've been meaning to make. Don't wait to visit your parents, your grandparents, because time, my dear, is a relentless thief. It doesn't wait for anyone. And regret, oh, regret is the heaviest cloak you will ever wear. A constant ache in your soul that no medicine can cure. It lingers long after the chance to make amends has vanished. Don't carry that burden. Share this story. Tell others about Martha. Maybe, just maybe, by letting my truth resonate, someone will listen before it's too late for them, before they find themselves in my shoes. And if your mother, your father, your grandmother, if they are still with you, please hug them for Martha. Hug them tight. Hold them close. Feel their warmth before their arms grow too weak, before their memory fades, or their eyes close for good, leaving behind an unbearable silence. My story is just one, but countless voices, countless hearts are touched by this same pain. Listen to their stories too. Remember us. Let our experiences guide you to what truly matters, the simple, profound love that should bind us all, always. Don't ever forget that.